Hello and welcome to the agenda on Hughes the World. I'm Graham Hughes and I'm joined, as nearly always, by Phil Moorhouse. How you doing, Phil?
I'm
You
all
alright,
right.
mate? Yeah?
Yes,
Been on a good week so far. It's cooled down a bit, hasn't it?
it has. Yes, we've had some rain at last.
Yes.
I
Alas.
had to go to Manchester to get rain earlier on.
Oh God, I'm so sorry.
I went to Rosebank, remember?
Oh yeah, you did.
And
That's not
it was
really
all, and
Manchester,
I
is
hadn't
it?
even
It's
thought I
Cheshire.
was going to go. I'm going to film outdoors, and it never occurred to me it might rain just because it had been so dry all summer.
It's
And then
always
I
the
got
rain,
there
isn't
and
it?
it was raining, and I thought,
Oh,
well, of course it is, you fool. It's the northwest.
well, it's Manchester. Manchester. It's Manchester when it rains. Cheshire when it doesn't. Big shout out to Ernie Burns in the chat. We've also got One Angry Pagan, Jenny Robinson, and the Hidden Knight, and Block That Dot. Hello, hello, hello. If you'd like to join our friendly friends in the friendly chat, hit the friendly subscribe button and wait for one friendly minute. So let's get into it. Ernie Burns says the arbitrary deadline is a rod to beat yourself with, but achieving a huge reduction in homelessness is not pie in the sky. So this is based on the target of Christmas. It's going to be over by
Yeah.
Christmas, Phil. To put people into stable accommodation off the streets, end of rough sleeping by the end of the
Yeah.
year. Do you think this is a bit pie in the sky? Do you think this can actually
No.
be done? Do you think they're making a
It,
rod for their own back with this?
well, what I do think is if you sort of say to people, whatever, civil servants in this case, but it really doesn't matter. You say, I've got this project for you. I'd like you to do this thing. If you don't give them a deadline, they'll just go, all right, well, we'll work on that. You see, you've got to give a deadline. You've got to give, this is the point where I'm going to judge your success. You have to do that. And it is one of these awkward things. And in politics, people tend to be quite, you either did it exactly as I imagined you would, or you didn't. And, but if you don't set a high bar and you don't set a deadline, you will not, nothing will really happen.
Yeah.
So it's like more will be achieved by setting a challenge than by just saying, I want you to sort of work towards this thing in your own time.
Yeah.
The other thing to note is it was already done. I mean, he might be thinking to himself, if Boris
He did
Johnson can
mention
do it,
this.
I can do it.
Yeah. He said we did it during COVID. And he's saying that it's an emergency intervention. He's not saying it's a permanent answer for homelessness. This isn't getting all homeless people homed. This is getting rough street sleepers off the street. There's less than 5,000 rough sleepers.
Offering that,
doable.
To be fair, he didn't actually say he's going to get all rough sleepers. He said offer them because so it can be complicated. Obviously, you can't force someone.
Offer a route off the streets by Christmas.
Yeah.
So the devil's probably going to be in the detail. But you're right. I mean, I do like this. And again, we talked about this before, but this is why Starmer failed. He didn't do stuff like this because he was too cautious and he tried. I don't know.
In general terms, yes, this specific policy is not gaining. It's not politically useful for Labour. It's just a good policy. It hasn't drawn headlines. The reason why this week Reform UK nipped into the lead again was because Reform UK are not getting a lot of coverage in the media, but they were getting some. And this week Labour have got none. But they have announced things. They've announced lots of There's the rough sleeping thing. There's what else? There's the planning laws on both pubs and automatic yes on if it's near services type thing.
Fly tipping.
Yeah, the waste. Actually, do you know what? He's actually got a little bit of traction. He started on with his shorts on YouTube, start to get a little bit more traction. His videos are still shite. So yeah, there was that. There's a few others. There have been a few, but none of them have made it onto the bulletins.
Yeah.
None of them are the crowd pleasing stuff. Now, what I've said is I want Andy Burnham strategists to be actively looking at something big, just a crowd pleaser, just towards the end of this month. Reason being, Reform UK go to their conference from the 3rd of September. They're the first ones out the gate. It's not technically conference season then, but we have so many major parties now that they all have to spread themselves out. So Reform UK go first. And they go into that conference, right? So Nigel Farage on the Saturday, presumably, is going to be going around master of ceremonies and all that sort of business.
Yeah.
If Reform UK are in the lead in the polls, he gets to say that all of this stuff is Westminster bubble, that the people are really behind us and stuff like that. He gets to present a positive image. He'll have to ban a load of journalists from the place, obviously. Femi won't get in. Then, but if Burnham announces some big crowd pleaser thing and that just sneaks Labour into the lead again,
Yeah.
then he has to go in, clearly going backwards, because last year they were in the lead, significantly in the lead.
Yeah.
Last September they were well ahead. People were talking about their path to power being inevitable.
Inevitable, yeah. Yeah.
And it's come down, and if they're not even in the lead, even if it's just like a point or two doesn't really make any difference this far out from the election, but psychologically it does. Yeah. Nigel Farage will not have a fun time at the conference, I reckon. So I would contrive something just to just sneak ahead in the polls, just for the end of this month, going into next month.
There was a great bit of number crunching in this week's Private Eye. 25% was Reform's average UK vote in the May elections, prompting Nigel Farage to claim Reform UK is the only true natural party that are competitive everywhere. I think he meant national, rather than natural. But it says
I think he meant natural.
The only true natural party. What's a natural party? Is that like
natural party government?
Grows of
the one that just is acceptable. It tries to be. They're trying to claim that they're like the every party, that they're for everyone.
Yeah. So that's 25%. 26.9% was Count Binface's vote share in the Clacton by-election, prompting Farage to dismiss Binface and other candidates as nobodies.
But as Binface said, of all the candidates that turned up for the results, he won.
Yeah.
So it's one of my viewers actually suggested that in Count Binface's next manifesto, he should have a policy that the winner of an election is the one who has the most votes of the candidates at the results.
Yes. The ones who actually bothered to turn up.
So if you can't be asked to turn up,
I agree.
You're getting pissed in a hedge instead, as he was.
Well, I turned up for the vote for the count in 2017 when I stood independent with a couple of mates, and they wouldn't let us in because they needed to apply for passes to get in, and I didn't know this. So I was like, "Oh, sod it, let's go to the pub." So we went to the pub instead. Anyway, so but the homelessness drive, this is great. I mean, it's been heralded by Shelter, and yes, there's someone in the chat saying. There are people who do want to live on the streets, and but
want is sometimes a funny word. I mean, you've got a lot of mental health problems. I mean, who wants to do a lot of things you do when you've got mental health problems?
Yeah,
but you can't force them. I mean, it's not like it's.
Well, one of the other Labour policies is going to come around and bite this on the arse. It's the fact that 15,155 prison leavers were released without housing in 2025 to 26. Yeah. That's up almost 300 a week, up 18% in a year. But
we haven't got prison space or housing. This is the problem.
Yeah,
we haven't got. The Conservatives just didn't. I can't emphasise it enough. They didn't build anything.
No,
they didn't build houses,
and
they didn't build prisons. Well, I mean, they did build. They'll say, "Oh, we built this many prison places." Yeah, but you also knocked down this many to the point where the total number of extra prison places you released was like. Measured in like a couple of hundred or so. Was it even a couple of hundred? I can't remember. It was very, very small amount. Yeah. For even if you just take into account population rise, it didn't cover it. But then the Tories also like to do the thing. Oh, we'll lock people up for longer. That'll show we're tough on crime. It's like you haven't got the places for them.
Yeah. We've got a super chat from our Angry Pagan. Thank you very much. £10. Very generous, thank you. Just wanted to challenge something you said the other day, Graham. I only turned on Burnham after we knew that Miliband had been moved and the continuation of leaving the trans community to suffer. I was just pointing out that it was the idea that we gave the previous but one guy. We gave him the benefit of the doubt for 4 years, 2 failed general elections, one failed referendum and a failed European election. Whereas as there are some people who have not even given Burnham a week, which is, in some cases, I guess it's fair enough. One of you pagan, those and some of his other short-term moves have me worried is all. That's fair enough. There's some people on Facebook that I know who absolutely hate Andy Burnham, and the reason they absolutely hate Andy Burnham is nothing to do with with trans rights. It's nothing to do with oil fields off the North Sea in the North Sea. It's because They really, really liked Keir Starmer, apparently, and Andy Burnham took his job.
The thing is, like, Keir Starmer had a lot of policies that were actually really very good. Andy Burnham has changed some of them. So in order to boost things like accelerate social care and things like that he wants to do, he's had to bin some other ones. So it's one of those things, like, he hasn't come in and said, right, all of this good stuff that Starmer was doing, I'm going to carry on, but I'm going to do extra good stuff as well, because he hasn't got the resources to do it. So if you want, what he's done is come in and shifted priorities. And some people will like that because he's shifted towards the priorities they have. And some people won't like it because he's shifted away from it. Now, I'm in the camp of don't like it, but I'm also in the camp of I want, after the next election, there to be a progressive government that introduces electoral reform. So if he achieves that, I will. I mean, I've never I never can. There can never be a government in this country that I'm broadly happy with. There's just ones that I think I'm satisfied with. So I'm just giving him time. At the end of the day, for me, the short-term goal is to get Labour ahead in the polls and stay there. None of this, because it goes up and down all the time. Even when it does the up and down thing, just get ahead of Reform UK and then create daylight. If he does that, by the end of this year, if that's the situation, then he's succeeding. Even if I don't like a lot of the policies, he's succeeding.
True that. Hidden Knight says, whatever happened to I don't hate him, I just disagree with him, like that old Jewish joke, why are you shouting? We're just arguing. Well, I mean, you know, it is whatever. I mean, I don't know a time when politics wasn't personalised. I don't know, because I grew up under Thatcher. I don't know when that ever wasn't the case, but the vitriol which greets anyone doing anything in public life is insane. I was talking on my show today about whenever there's a policy that's been announced on Facebook by Andy Burnham, they put up a little video and it's him. It's like 30 seconds long, and he just goes, "I'm going to do this," right? These comments and all they say is boats. They just go, boats. What about the boats? What about the boat? And it's like he's talking about fly tipping, and he's like, yeah, but what are you going to do about the boats? He's talking about, like, you know, trains in the north. What are you going to do about boats, eh? And it's just like,
but
yeah.
Because I'm doing stuff on Facebook now, and my wife just keeps, you know, she hates the comments, and I just need to say to her, it's like, well, half of them are bots, and the other half of them are just morons. So it doesn't really matter, does it? I really don't. I don't understand why.
So
just chill.
Something that we should talk about as well. John Healey is going to be doing the budget. October the 28th is the date. Yeah. That's been set. But there was the public finances recorded a surprising, apparently, £1.8 billion deficit in July, when economists had broadly expected the books to be balanced, and the OBR had forecast a roughly £500 million surplus. So what's going on here?
So retail got hit, and I don't know why yet. I read into it. The retail figures were much lower, which was weird because we had the World Cup and England got quite far in it, which is usually quite good for retail. You know, warm summer, so people often going out and stuff like that. People buying fans and portable air conditioners, I suppose, these days as well. But people tend to spend more. You know, it had all the conditions for people spending more, yet retail was down. I don't actually know the reason. I mean, the Financial Times will have to be where I go to. But it may be that we just don't know the reasons yet, because there needs to be some analysis of it. But that's what's done it. I think that's a big factor in it anyway, that the retail figures were much lower than expected.
Public sector debt is nearly 3 trillion now, which is 94% of GDP. Do you think this is a problem? Like, we tend to...
It's a problem for investors. Anything that's a problem for investors is a real problem, because they are the ones who...
Why is it a problem for investors, though? Do you think they'll stop investing once it gets to 100%? I mean...
No, they just
Japan's
worry. So, no, what they do is it is quite complicated, but you can't compare it to other countries. They just worry that the UK could find itself in a position whereby politically a government is forced. You can ultimately, I mean, with my hat on, I would sort of say, well, this is fucking Tories not investing in infrastructure. So they know that there's a certain situation where politically you can't just cut back too much. And they just worry there'll come a point in the future where the government will effectively default because it won't have the money it needs for public investment or public services, and it will therefore default on the debt. And it's not seen as a big problem in the other G7 countries.
Okay. Well,
like America, people are screaming about the out of control debt in America, and economists are going, yeah, but they can handle it. Yeah, at least for a while longer. I mean, at some point, you think there's going to be a reckoning.
That's the thing. In Japan, it's been 132% of the GDP for years, but it's still going.
They keep, but Japan are always investing in their infrastructure.
Yeah,
they've got more advanced railway. They had more advanced railways in the 1960s than we've got now.
Yeah, and they do all right. I mean, this idea that the growth has got to never end. Well, Japan's still got one of the biggest economies in the world. It's not like it's suddenly dropping down the ranks.
But they never neglected their infrastructure, and we have.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So we are basically. Do you know what it was like? It was like when Mike Ashley owned St James's Park, and for someone like me who's a Newcastle fan, but not living in Newcastle or anything. It was basically sort of like, it wasn't terrible. He clearly wasn't investing in the club, and he was really using it for his own business purposes. But it was terrible. But then I had, people I knew, family there, and you go to St James's Park and they say, but you can see it in the stadium in the neglect and the lack of maintenance that was being done. And that's what's happened to Britain. So like and at some point it's going to need dealing with. It's like the RARC stuff where buildings literally fell down. Well, then you have to build the building back up. And investors just know there's a whole heap of shit that needs dealing with in this country. And there'll come a point where if it's not dealt with, a government will be forced into a position of either paying the investors their yields or and in order to do that, they will have to cut that investment, and they just don't think they will because it will be political suicide to do it. So there's a real fear there, from investors. And so, but it really doesn't matter whether investors have valid concerns or not. There are some, and to a certain extent, you may argue they're overplaying them, but it doesn't matter. If you rely on constant debt, if you constantly are having to go to the bank for loans, then if the bank loses confidence in you, that is a problem because then your cash flow is.
But that hasn't happened.
It's the same with the country.
That hasn't happened with Japan, though, has it? And
no, because
Liam's saying Japan's economy is fucked, Graham. But I don't think that it is. Like going to Japan, like you're right. They spend a lot of money on infrastructure. The infrastructure is amazing. It's fantastic. It's one of the best in the world. It's like the London Underground, but it's a whole country. Meanwhile, go to America. It's fucked, Phil, and it has been for years. I've seen homeless people in America who are obviously disabled, obviously burnt in a house fire or lost a leg in a war or something, and then they're just left on the streets. The infrastructure is shite. There's entire states that don't even have a single train station. Wyoming doesn't have a train station.
Yeah, what I don't get is you've got these huge areas where you'll just go and there'll be just like these parks of just people having to live in like vans and stuff. Pissing vote Trump.
Yeah, I know, but America.
You don't want to live in a van. Just to be clear,
even if the economy of Japan, whatever, the defaulted or whatever, it couldn't really happen with the modern economy. But there would still be the fundamentals would still be there. The trains would still be there. But
the argument is that over time your economy grows. So it's like anything. You get a mortgage now for your house, and the repayments might be quite steep, but in 20 years' time they won't be. Even if you're not climbing a career ladder, even if you've got the same job, but just the money will go up if it just keeps up in vaguely real terms. Whereas if you're paying out £900 a month on a mortgage repayment, then assuming the interest rate stays broadly the same in 20 years' time, it'll still be £900, but your income will be like 30-40% higher or something because of inflation. Even if you're not climbing a career ladder with the same job, it's minimum wage or whatever. I mean, you won't have a 900 quid repayment for minimum wage, but you know what I mean? So, and it's the same thing for a country. as long as you've got the fundamentals there, as long as you don't. But what Labour are having to do is they're having to not just pay for day-to-day spending, not just pay for the normal infrastructure, new prisons and new things, this, that, and the other. They're having to pay for all the stuff that we've missed out on for 14 years, which is why Starmer got himself into trouble, because they were trying to penny pinch. They were trying to squeeze the day-to-day spending, winter fuel policy, PIP, stuff like that. They were trying to squeeze that to try and maximize the amount they could spend on capital investment to try and catch up, because there's no easy answers. And obviously that, and that just proves the investors' point. The fact that that went disastrously wrong politically, massive backlash to it. And they just think at some point in the future, it could happen.
Yeah. Something that who is it? Liam, was it said in the chat there? Sorry, I missed who said it, but it said that the Japan's on the verge of economic collapse. I've heard that about Japan since the 1990s. It's 30 years now, over 30 years since I first heard that Japan was about to collapse because of its excessive spending.
Like the Daily Express saying that EU's about to go tits up next Tuesday.
It's going to happen. And
I mean, even recently they did have an issue, and the US bailed them out because the US were dependent on it as well. It's that codependence.
Yeah.
So
I don't worry about it too much. And like national debt, I think is something that they use on the right all the time when they're not in power. And as soon as they are in power, they never mention it.
Get your economic news from proper economic outlets. So the likes of, Bloomberg, Financial Times, stuff like that, because they're not sensationalists. Don't get it from the Telegraph or anything, or the Daily Mail, or wherever, or even the Guardian. Like, don't get it from a general public outlet. Get it from a serious economic paper that is read by people who need accurate, balanced information to make huge investment decisions, because they don't steer them wrong. Their business, the likes of the Financial Times, it's my most expensive subscription, because it's basically for people who own the country, in fact own the world. They can't afford to steer them wrong. Their whole business model collapses then. So it's clearly capitalist, but it is truthful. It will be balanced. It's got opinion pieces like everything else. There's one particular person who writes opinion pieces, talks shit all the time. But if you read the news, the news is accurate.
I don't care about your opinion. I just want the news. But so just to go back to what Angry Pagan was saying. Thank you very much for the super chat, One Angry Pagan. I'm going to come on to this topic now. I'm hoping Burnham's long-term plan is less blasé about climate action than its current moves would indicate. We can't just let it drop as a priority. And I agree with that. And thank you very much for the super chat. But this week, Dale Vince, Ecotricity founder, Green campaigner and Labour Party donor, it was given more than £5 million to Labour over several years. Says that the Rosebank and Jackdaw fields in the oil and gas fields in the North Sea should be allowed to proceed, which is a complete U-turn on his previous anti-drilling position. And this comes after he had a chat with Andy Burnham. So I'm just thinking, well, this is locked in now.
I think so.
It's not going to not happen.
But
it does stick Labour to its manifesto commitment of not opening any new ones up, because these were
if you read the wording in it was, in fact, it was one of those awkward situations. It's not actually, if you read the word in the manifesto, it's not a breach of the manifesto. You could actually argue it arguably might have been if they hadn't, but it's one of those things for me. It makes no difference in terms of the actual impact, because it's too small to have any measurable impact on carbon emissions, but that also means it's too small to have any measurable impact on the economy. It's like going to create, I think it's 17 jobs has been quoted. 27
full-time jobs.
Okay.
Yeah, 27. That's for Jackdaw. That's for Jackdaw. 27 jobs.
So basically, it's irrelevant either way. It's really about the principle. So it's one of those things for me. Unless he's got some polling that's not publicly available that says, you would have just created a rod for your own back by not giving the go-ahead. I'm just going to say he could just as easily have given the go-ahead as not, and it would just have been, given that his moves so far of, whenever he's been asked to make a decision that's either pro or anti-science, he's tended to do the anti-science one. But this in itself, I'm pragmatic. It makes no difference.
He's
either
saying that the
way.
government should be pragmatic about North Sea extraction.
Yeah, so this isn't being. He
27
might have even.
jobs,
Do you know
Phil.
what? It might have even been as simple as just to not give Trump a reason
Well,
to go batshit.
we mentioned this the other day. This is why I think he did it. Oh, that's
It
why I
might
think
be
he's
as
going to
simple
do
as
it. I
that.
mean, it's not been formally announced
Yeah.
yet, but I think
May
it's
just be
just
that.
because this is the thing that Trump's been going on about. You got to drill. You got to drill that. The reason why Keir Starmer got kicked out was because he didn't drill. And
I thought it was immigrants. He keeps changing his mind.
Oh well, whatever it is from one day.
Civilizational erasure.
Boats. One Angry Pagan, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. By me, limited understandings of economics. Taxes are supposed to keep currency moving around the system, so why are taxes treated as something bad?
People don't like paying them.
Because people don't like paying them.
Someone ultimately has to pay them.
Yeah. And the right wing in particular jump through absolutely massive hoops to avoid paying tax, and they usually spend more money avoiding paying tax than they would have paid in tax in the first place if they just really stayed here and paid the right amount.
Well, some people,
yeah. But yeah, the super mega wealthy get around this by just they just loan out the money from the banks that they use each day.
There's all sorts of fiddles, massive number of fiddles you can use.
So you got like you can't tax the $1 trillion that Elon Musk owns because it's not real money, you see, Phil, because it can go up and down.
Exactly.
But you can borrow against it because then it is real money.
Exactly.
That you can borrow against.
Precisely.
But yeah, do you? I mean, obviously, this is going to be a rod to beat, stick to beat Andy Burnham with from the Greens, I guess the Lib Dems and the SNP. What can the SNP go after this? Because
the SNP love it. They want this to go ahead because they're in with the oil lobby. I mean, because it's Scottish.
Well, also, I mean, they had a by-election in Aberdeen a couple of months ago, and the Tory won by saying we're going to drill.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's a real difficult one. This is it because the only reason why it hadn't already started was because it was held up by a Scottish. Judge.
Yeah, basically Rishi Sunak fucked up the paperwork.
Yeah. So we wouldn't even be having this discussion because it would have just gone ahead anyway.
Yeah.
But it is a bit frustrating. But it maybe it takes a bit of the sting out of what the Tories and Refuck are saying. Well,
there's any number of reasons why I might have done it. For me, it's just not a big impact. It's like on climate issues, I am much more concerned by something that no one is talking about, which I talked about last week, which is the government. And we don't know which way they're going to go on this. I just have a very bad feeling. Looking at EV targets, things like that. Because at the moment, car manufacturers have to produce, so 80% of their new cars have to be EVs or hybrids. And some of the hybrids are not real hybrids. They're just sticking a motor in and calling it a hybrid. It's bullshit. So there's already a fiddle baked in. But car manufacturers are complaining. But the problem with that is if you reduce, and I have said, do you know what? We have to bring people along with us. If it is genuinely the case that we are hurting the competitiveness of particularly UK-based manufacturers, car manufacturers, if dropping it to 70% or something would help, okay, because we need this to work economically. But if it's just car manufacturers bitching, the consequence is, at the moment, there are people investing in infrastructure, charging stations, stuff like that. And they're working out their business plan, their 5-year, 10-year business plan, based on an expected increase in new EVs every year, partly based on these targets. Even though there's actually been a boost in EVs just this year because of Trump's monkey business. But nonetheless, if you reduce the targets, there's a risk that you also reduce the rollout of the infrastructure needed. And it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Oh, the EVs aren't good because we don't have the infrastructure yet. And then but to get people to invest in the infrastructure, you need more and more people buying EVs. And actually, I think for me, even 2 years ago, I would have said, maybe even a year ago, the infrastructure around where I am was absolutely shit. It's a lot better than now. It's noticeably better in the last year.
Well, I mean,
there's more EV charging stations where I am.
We got our electric car 3 years ago this month, and it's been a fucking dream. It's been, apart from that bloody screen where you got to press loads of different things to get to the air conditioning on. It's fantastic, and being able to drive to my mum's for £3.
Yeah,
and then when we get to hers, we can just plug it in.
Yeah.
to just power, but you just need to have a special power thing.
I use a granny charger to put some power in it. It's only like 2, I think it's 3 watts, but you lose power, so you maybe get about 2 watts out of it or something.
No, but
2 kilowatts.
I mean, if you leave it there overnight, it'll be fully charged in the morning. Like it's fine. You know, so it doesn't
have a small battery.
No, it's not. It's 300 kilometers. Seriously, the infrastructure that is there as well. I was talking about this with a friend of ours the other night. We went down to Glastonbury in the car last year, and we had to stop along the way because we wanted to get it charged. So it was charged actually there, so we could just get out easily. And we went into a fast charge place, and we plugged it in, and it was a Costa or a Starbucks or something. We were waiting to get a what's it called, a coffee. And we hadn't even been served with our coffee before our phones pinged and said it's full. I mean, it was just like, oh my God. You know, so if you had gone to get fuel, it would have taken longer.
There's so many.
Anyway,
this is my argument now. When they used to say it takes longer to charge, it doesn't anymore. It does with the older ones and with the older charging things. Now it doesn't. It genuinely is quicker because, first of all, most of your journeys, you're not going to go somewhere and back. You're going to be able to get there and back on one charge. Even in like is yours like a ID3 or something?
ID4.
ID4.
Yeah. So
even on something like that, you'll get, for most of your like day trips, you'll get there and back on one charge. So you just come home and you plug it in. So that takes no time at all. Like if you think about filling it with petrol, it's a good 5 minutes to fill it. Oh, it depends on the size of your fuel tank, but for me, it's about 5 minutes to fill it up. You might have to, depending on when you need to fill it up, you might have to queue for the petrol pump. But I live in the middle of nowhere, so it's not usually fine. So it's 5 minutes to fill up, and then it might be another 5 minutes to pay for it if there's a bit of a queue of people paying for stuff. But you know, whereas for this, it's no time at all. You just grab the thing, then you've already put in your app. If you just want it to charge to 60%, 80%, 100, whatever you want to charge it to, it's already in there. So you're just plugging it in. It'll deal with itself. If you have to do it on a journey, you just go in there, you plug it in, you go for a piss, you come back. It's just swiping a card. And it's done. So I would now say there are niche situations, sure, where you might be on a thing and there might be a fast charger that you need to use and there's nothing there. There's no toilets, you don't need, you probably do, but there might not be anything there. So you might have to wait, but that's niche. Most of the time you're not waiting. Most of the time you're plugging it into an AC charger in the car park you've driven to. That takes no time. You're just swiping a card. You're doing it at a fast charger, you're going for a piss, or you're doing it at home. Like, so now it's quicker. So it now takes longer to fill up with fuel.
But one of the issues we're still having with EVs is if you live on a terrace street and you have to park outside your house.
Yes.
So
we still need more. This is what I mean. We still need more infrastructure, which is why the rollout of the infrastructure is very sensitive to the expected increase in EV ownership. So anything you do that limits that is a problem. But I don't know if it would, if we reduce the target from say 80% to 70%, would that? Because, you know, people can still choose to buy. I mean, there's still at the moment new ICE cars being revealed. Manufacturers are still producing brand new ones. So you can still buy them if you want. So it's still a market force to an extent. So maybe it wouldn't be a big problem if you reduce the target to 70 or even 60%. I just don't want investors in EV infrastructure to think it will, and therefore they don't invest as much.
But I tell you what, Phil, I mean, like, I mean, the really annoying thing about EVs is whenever someone gets an EV, they become evangelical about fucking EVs. Do you know what I mean? Like me. So I think that's going to push it forward anyway, because people are like, oh, it's so good. So good. And then maybe people will get an EV and they'll go, this is.
Well, I noticed when the Iran war started and the petrol prices started going up, there was a lot of EV drivers going,
Yeah, I was one of them. Well, last week when we were in Mallorca, you could fill up for free at the side of the road. If you could find an electric outlet, I mean, it's not just any old outlet. I mean, it's obviously set up and you need an app. But if you could do that, you got free fuel, and then you woke up the next morning and your car was full, 100%. Crazy. Which I put up to 100%.
Of course, you shouldn't. I will just point out, by the way, you shouldn't keep putting your battery to 100%.
We don't. We only do it to 80% here, but it wasn't our car, so fuck it. It's hire car. Anyway,
if you're buying a second-hand EV, don't buy one that was used as a hire car, apparently, because people will have just screwed its battery. Or at least check the battery health. You can check the battery health.
Richard says EV policy makes no sense. Grants the road tax more than my old petrol, and paper mile is coming in, putting people off an expensive investment.
But it's paper mile
is
cheaper. It's still cheaper.
It's still cheaper than running
it
on
a paper mile for a petrol.
Yeah,
and you pay more per mile for petrol.
It's a fuck around going to the petrol station. Imagine trying to explain
that
tax in 100 years' time.
Why should someone driving an EV not pay taxes? We need to pay, even though it's not directly linked. We need roads. We still need the roads. We've not got flying EVs.
Yeah.
So, I have got no problem with do the paper mile, and it will go up over time. It will go up, and it will have to go up to compensate for the fact you're not getting as much in fuel duty. And that's a good thing. We're not getting as much in fuel duty because it means we're not using as much bloody fuel.
Yeah. Black Dot says, love my EV. Can't believe what Andy Burnham has done. Angela Rayner has just been caught taking money off the fossil fuel industry. Have you heard about this?
I haven't heard about it. There's nothing.
Burnham's taken almost £350,000 in political donations leading up to his leadership and premiership.
It was inevitable. I mean, at the end of the day, politicians get donations. They need donations for campaigns. He was inevitably going to attract.
Yeah, but another 4.5 million, and he could be up there with.
Well, no, because this isn't money being trousered. This is political donations going to a political campaign and being properly registered. He's not spending it on himself. He's not going around going, I'm just going to buy a Ferrari on a 350 grand. That'll get me a Ferrari, won't it? That's not what's happening. He hasn't bought a house in Surrey.
He said, Nigel Farage, he was like, I can buy a Lamborghini with that if I want. The money I got for my security, I could buy a Lamborghini if I want. What? I can buy a Ferrari. Anyway, the donors include former Manchester nighttime economy czar Sacha Lord, the former Sainsbury's chair David Sainsbury, Labour donor and businessman Gary Lubner, and trade unions including Unison, the CWU, and the Fire Brigades Union. He also declared more than £12,000 worth of hospitality and trips, including Glastonbury and going to the National. Going to Ladies' Day.
Unison's interesting. Because I'm pretty sure, let me just see if I've got this right. I think it was, of the three big unions, you got Unite, Unison, GMB.
Yeah.
I think it was Unite and GMB that were pushing him to allow the drilling to go ahead, and Unison that were saying don't. So they're the ones that donated to him, and he's gone the other way. That's a bit weird.
Can't keep everyone happy all the time, can you?
No, you can't.
But like the important thing to remember in Burnham,
Unison will be for care workers as well, though, I guess, won't it? So I guess they'll be happy with his social care stuff.
350,000. It was all declared. That's the difference. It was declared. You need
and it's not going to his trousers, not coming out going, I can just spend it on whatever I like. I'm getting pizzas next week with it. You know?
Another thing that we're talking about is the fly tipping crackdown. Much overdue for people who are having to live with this kind of shit. Apparently, maximum fines only used to be 300 quid, Phil. 300 quid for causing millions of pounds worth of damage. So that's been up to 5,000, but also...
why don't you up it to the cost of clearing it up?
Well, yeah, Burnham is saying perpetrators should ultimately be forced to pay the clear-up costs. So you know there's a thing when there's a thing brought in the 90s, Profits of Crime Act, wasn't it?
Proceeds of crime.
Proceeds of crime. And so if you're a drug dealer and you bought a McMansion and a Ferrari with the money, the government could take that off you and sell the house and take the money, right? You want to do the same thing for fly tippers.
Yeah, certainly.
So
so I'm not doubting it, by the way, but I'm looking at a few different outlets. I'm not doubting it. I'm sure it's true, but I'm not sure it's as big a deal as some people are making out. I can't see anything on this Angela Rayner funding thing. I'm looking on the Telegraph. They would on their. Do they have a politics thing? I can't. They're not making a big deal out of it. And you might think, well, they don't care about it. You're looking at the Guardian. There's nothing. I mean, if it's there, it's buried. It's not on the. I'm even looking at UK politics. They've got no mention of it.
Is that the one with an L instead of an I
What?
in the name? At UK politics, but the second I in
No, I
politics
don't know what
is
you're
an
talking
L.
about. I said the Guardian.
No, UK
BBC.
politics. You just mentioned UK politics.
Yeah, they because they have sections. I'm not going to look in the football section.
All right.
I'm going to look in the UK politics section.
Oh, sorry. I thought you meant at UK politics, the
No.
ridiculous Twitterer.
I can't see anything on the BBC in their politics section. Just to be clear, the BBC's politics section.
Yeah.
That's a spread of outlets. I can't see anyone. Has she really taken? Is it a significant amount, or is it from like? Someone surely would make a big deal of this. There's plenty of, and I will just say, it's not like it's August, right? It's August the 21st. We're not inundated. I don't think with all my videos today, I've hardly had any news stories. Most of the videos I brought out this week, not a word of a lie, I could have brought out last week. There's been almost no news stories this week of the sort of thing. I mean, obviously news happens all the time. Of the sort of thing that would interest my channel, there's very little. It's been clutching at straws, but it often is in August. So, and the same thing for the general news. They put plenty of shit on here. Yeah, I mean, on the BBC News Politics, right? Their third story is Starmer donates biography of himself to Downing Street Library. Like, if that's going to be in third place, you know there's no news going on. So if Angela Rayner, at a time where there's a lot of argy-bargy about climate policy, is taking any sort of dodgy donations, he's got to be in somewhere. Where is it?
Sorry, Phil. It's in the.
I'm not doubting it, but I just don't know why all this spread of outlets, none of them have got any interest in it.
Telegraph. It's in the Telegraph apparently, but it's been promoted by the Green Party. Rayner takes £20,000 donation from oil advisors.
So, okay, the Green Party are recommending the Telegraph, but either way, it's not on their politics. It's hidden somewhere in the website equivalent of page 28 because it's not on. It's not here.
Anyway, One Angry Pagan asks the question. Thank you very much for the super chat, One Angry Pagan. That's very kind of you. Do we need a new social contract? How do you do it?
We do. I think what we actually need is an explicit one. Like, you know, when people talk about, oh, you should have a codified constitution, they say written, they mean codified. We've got a written one. And I just say, no, can we not? But I wouldn't mind a more codified social contract and call it the social contract. Gordon Brown was working on one. You know, Keir Starmer commissioned him. It's quite funny. He commissioned him to do some stuff on reforming the house, getting rid of the House of Lords, and he came out with all this sort of shit, which I thought was brilliant. I loved it. That document that Gordon Brown came out with. It was stuff like literally a constitutional right to a home and things like this. And that's what I would like to see. But of course, you run into the immediate problem that we can't actually make good on this guarantee. But we could move to. I would like to see a government say, we want to work towards this. We want to work towards a social contract baked into law that guarantees people suitable home, suitable job. I mean, of course, you know, a little socialist, of course I'd like this, but I want the state to provide. If the private sector won't provide you with homes, the state will. If the private sector can't provide you with food, the state will. If the private sector won't provide you with a job, the state will. You know, this is what and actually say we want to move towards this, and we want to be able to, you know, we think we can achieve this first one by then, or at least show some working towards it. And we think we want to work towards this social contract that will guarantee everyone these things.
Yeah.
Not be anti-private sector. Private sector, fine. If you can provide jobs and homes and stuff like that, grand. You know, we'll have regulations in place to make sure they're good quality. That's great. Fantastic. We welcome this. But where there's not enough private investment supplying the needs of society, it's the government's job ultimately to make sure society ticks along and no one is left behind.
Yeah. Okay, so what do we get? What else have we got on the agenda? It's 1 month of number 10 North. Is it beginning to change the machinery of government, or is it just symbolic at this point? I mean,
No, I mean, if you listened to Yvette Cooper's podcast thing, straight away we had the inside track. It's definitely a lot different. I mean, one big thing I will say, when Labour won the election, first thing I did in terms of my cautionary side was say, I hope we don't end up with groupthink in number 10, because Rishi Sunak did number 10 under Rishi Sunak. Rishi Sunak didn't have to fail as hard as he did. It just there was no pushback against their dumber policies. I mean, he came out, he announced those 5 things, didn't he? Wrote them down. Let's look at through some. So there was reduce NHS waiting lists. Waiting lists went up. Of course they did. You didn't have any Why would you put in writing that you're going to reduce NHS waiting lists if you don't have any policies to do it? That's just stupid, right? Because obviously it sounds good at the time, but obviously the government are going to hold your feet to the fire come the election. Why would you say you're going to stop the boats when you don't have a policy to do it, right? Like, there was the most terrible groupthink inside number 10. And I just said with Starmer, I don't want that. And then we got it. Morgan McSweeney just hired Morgan McSweeney clones into Downing Street. and what Yvette Cooper said, and this is the thing that stood out. She said a few things, but what stood out for me is she said Keir Starmer had this attitude of don't bring me problems, bring me solutions. Whereas Andy Burnham says, bring me the problems. I want to talk about the problems. And some people will say things like, yeah, but you don't want to be just bringing the problems. What they mean is you want to bring the problems and a couple of solutions as well. You might not have the solution. You may have just identified a problem and do not know what the fuck to do about it. Raise it with others who might.
Yeah.
Don't sit on a problem just because you can't think of a solution. Bring it to everyone. That's the whole point of cabinet. So yeah, there's been an instant culture change in the way government works from the inside, by the sounds of it. That is positive, and that's real as well. That's night and day in terms of project management. Do not hide problems.
Yeah.
Problems are not a negative thing. Someone bringing up problems, it's not a negative thing, because if a problem's there, it's going to manifest. And when do you want it to manifest? At the planning stage, when you can do something about it, or when you launch the thing to the public and then you find out there was a problem. Like, I bet in 10 Downing Street, there was someone who was thinking, I'm not sure we should take this winter fuel payment off these pensioners, and then didn't say anything or was ignored.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I get the impression that Starmer was a little bit like that. Like you'd go to him and say, I've got this idea. And he'd be like, I can't be dealing with this right now.
There's been a lot of ministers. One on their own, you might just say they were chuntering. Like you will always get some people who don't like the leadership style of the leader, right? Yeah. So you will get a bit of friction there because people work in different ways. But there were so many who attacked not individual decisions that Starmer made, but just the process of doing it. We've had Jess Phillips, we've had Yvette Cooper, we've had a few that weren't necessarily attacking the decisions; they were just attacking the process. And it just sounds a whole lot better now.
Yeah. Well, there was another interview that came out this week, a podcast with Sue Gray, in which she said that working in Keir's number 10 was unbearable. She talked about it was the Political Currency podcast that she was on. She provided an insight into what's been called a boys' club operating within Downing Street. She was she also had to go at Morgan McSweeney, basically
he was
saying,
incompetent.
She said stories about supposedly trying to move Morgan McSweeney to the back of the building. Actually, that was genuine. She actually did try to do that.
Yeah.
And
she also, and you would like this, she also tried to block any contact between Peter Mandelson and number 10.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if Starmer had trusted her over McSweeney,
he might still be prime minister.
I think the political mistakes would still have been there. You wouldn't have expected her to deal with that. Yeah. But it wouldn't have been. There would have been certainly a load of shit that wouldn't have happened.
I do feel though that a bit vindicated in saying that Starmer needs to go because a lot of people go, no, you can't change courses midstream, and I'm like, but
no,
you need to win the next election.
If you're going the wrong way, you definitely do. Right?
Yeah. And
You're heading
keeps
towards
saying,
a
I don't
cliff
think he
edge.
was a particularly bad guy. He's
No, he's
he
not
just
at all.
wasn't a politician.
He's tried to do very good things. Well, it's not even just that. Like Rishi Sunak wasn't either. Neither of them had to fail. They just, Starmer, I mean, I gave him credit for the fact he recognized that he's not a political beast and delegated. That's good. He delegated to the wrong people. In politics, appointments are really difficult. You've got to appoint the right people because you can't do everything. Like one of the reasons why Nigel Farage is getting stick and why he's keep having to ban people from the party is because they keep pointing out that he's a control freak. He's not delegating. Yeah, but he has to. You can't run the whole thing yourself.
I saw a clip of Rory, what's his name, Sutherland, who's this marketing guru. And he was talking about a Michelin star restaurateur. He wanted a Michelin star. And what he'd do is go around all the different Michelin star restaurants. And instead of noting down what they did well and try and copy them, he would note down what they did badly. Yeah. And he'll try and better them. Yeah. And I think that's probably if Andy Burnham's got any sense, that's what he should have done now. And I'm sure he has. Just make a list of all the stupid shit that Keir Starmer did and just I'm not going to do that. Yeah. These are lists of things not to do as Prime Minister.
Well, a lot of them he would have known anyway because he's actually been in politics a long time. He's sort of, Keir Starmer, he was a bit political in his youth. He was very political in his youth. But then he obviously went off to become a lawyer and then came back into politics in 2015. Well, I suppose he could have come back in 2014, but 2015 was elected to Parliament, and then he was. I mean, even his parliamentary apprenticeship was in a very dysfunctional Parliament. So he didn't exactly. And this is the problem I think we have now. We don't really have a lot of capable political leaders in any party because just something seems to have gone off the rails in politics. And so there's no one learning the ropes because who are you going to learn from? Who are the masters that people have learned from? They don't exist.
But, at the start, Keir Starmer made some canny decisions. He did detoxify the Labour Party and managed to get them into
But that's his organisational ability.
A massive majority. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't an electoral majority, but
it
did the job.
But
he's got a majority.
It's exactly what you've got to do. He used the system. He paid attention to the system. He operated within the bounds of it.
Yeah.
And he did. He was fully focused on winning. He was actually apparently pissed off because he didn't win enough. He wanted to beat Tony Blair. So there was a competitive edge to him. And yeah, he refused, he really went ahead and he had all these sayings like, he's going to go through the blockers. He wasn't going to back down to Nimbius and stuff like that. So he was ruthless. He just was misfiring on he just
misfiring on
he
all
had this he had this real disdain for the grubbiness of politics, and politics is grubby, but it's really important.
We've got another super chat from One Angry Pagan. He's been very generous this afternoon. Thank you, One Angry Pagan. New inventive species in Kernow, a praying mantis. Kernow? I don't understand. Sorry, you might have to explain that to me. One Angry Pagan. But that did trigger the confetti. So we might, if we're very lucky, get a thumbs up from Phil.
I'll tell you what we have got.
What?
There's an Irish snail might be beating Trump. Have you heard this?
All right, well, we'll come to that in a moment. But first of all, 3, 2, 1, confetti! Yay! Thumbs up, Phil. Yay! Yay! Got a thumbs up from Phil. Okay.
Donald Trump wants to build a ballroom.
What?
Donald Trump wants to build a ballroom.
And there's a slug getting in the way. What?
No,
is he not the slug? Oh, he's not a snail.
So he wants to build a ballroom, not the one at the White House. This one's in Ireland. And there's apparently a serial objector to projects like this, who's apparently just makes a big career out. Well, not a career, but he just does it all over the place. And he's identified it might cause this problem for this snail population. So Donald Trump may lose another ballroom because of a snail, an Irish snail.
I do like that. Kernow, thank you very much for the super chat there, just to clear that up. One Angry Pagan says Kernow equals Cornwall. So I'll read that again. New invasive species in Cornwall, praying mantis. So I didn't even think that it was an invasive species. I thought it was like a politics thing. I thought it was I didn't know what that was about. Okay, so now I do. Thank you very much to One Angry Pagan for the second super chat. Third super chat. Fourth, fifth, sixth super chat. Thank you very much. One Angry Pagan, that's been very kind of you. I was going to talk about Northern Rail, but that's a bit boring. But what I would like to talk about before we wrap up, Refuck are tearing each other apart. We've had Tim Montgomery, who's been suspended. He's the Conservative Home founder, who's become
that's actually a big deal
of the party.
Yeah,
that's in a sack,
because he's not a household name amongst people on the left or the general public. People might just think, but he's actually a very big deal. He was a huge star signing. He's a very effective activist, and actually, he was a big, because it's both sides of it. It was a big blow to the Conservatives. When he went, and he won't be going back. He's actually said, because he is someone who's, acting from a position of principle, if you can call it that. But he does believe in what he thinks. And but Reform UK have really shot themselves in the foot. But what they've also done is given the Conservatives a boost. The Conservatives are loving it because it's almost like, if your football team had Lionel Messi in it and you lost him to some team who just keeps him on the bench, you would think, you stupid wankers, So they've actually given the Conservatives a spring in their step that Reform UK are such idiots.
Yeah.
Dispensing with top talent just because the leader's too conceited. Even though I don't think Farage is any more conceited than Badenoch, but nonetheless, he's the one suffering most at the moment.
Well, his offence was publicly criticising Nigel Farage, including his failure to appear at the Clacton by-election count and his increasingly combative...
I mean, there were valid criticisms as well. Sometimes you get people criticising the party leader, and sometimes it is beyond the pale, and sometimes it is the sort of thing like, look, you're in the same side, keep it behind closed doors. But he clearly has done this. He won't have just gone straight out and said, I need to... Same with Rupert Lowe. These are things that they will have said to Nigel Farage personally. You need to sort this out because this is making us less competitive. And they're getting nowhere. So they've decided to raise the temperature on it. But these are valid criticisms. Rupert Lowe, in that article he got binned for, was valid criticisms. It was quite mild as well. And yet now look, Rupert Lowe is a major thorn in Reform UK's side.
Yeah.
Because Farage couldn't even take, and it was really mild criticism. Rupert Lowe was literally just saying, you ought to delegate a bit more. All Nigel Farage had to do was say, people have their different ways of doing things. I think my way of doing things is really good. We're doing really well in the polls. He could have just agreed to disagree. And then it would have killed the story. Instead of which, he decided to make Reform UK's greatest nightmare come true.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane. So, Reform UK's ego, their leader's ego is arguably their biggest weakness.
Well, Reform's new economics advisor, Mitchell Palmer, is also creating headaches because apparently he previously advocated ending the triple lock on
things
pensions.
Like that, things like that are just making a fuss out of nothing. An advisor is just that. You get this all the time. You do it with every party. Someone will go, oh, this advisor thinks this, therefore that party will adopt that policy. It's like, no, they're just...
Well, no, but it's a nice rod to... It's a nice
You can try if you want. I don't ever use that because I think they're bullshit sticks. Because at the end of the day, no one thinks the pension triple lock is a good idea apart from pensioners.
Yes.
Like no one on the left thinks it's a good idea. No one on the right thinks it's a good idea.
Yeah.
So,
but VFOC published their War on Disabled People pamphlet this week, where they said that they were going to take PIP from everybody and then selectively give it back to people that they think deserved it, which is probably going to be no one, really.
Well, it's people who have like tatty flags on the lamppost outside their house. But also they've reheated David Cameron's slave labour idea. Said, oh, people with benefits going to have to do work. And it's like, no, if they're going to do work, you pay them, mate.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's slave labour.
One of the reasons for Trump being able to put new tariffs on countries is because we have slave labour, whereas America don't.
Yeah, sorry, it says.
Also, good news, the councils, two council seats were lost by VFUC yesterday in little council by-elections.
There's going to be another one.
There was, the Lib Dems gained in St. Neots, Ainsbury, and where Reform won 2 of the ward's 3 seats in May. And yesterday, a Liberal Democrat gained a seat. And then in Penistone, East in Barnsley. Barnsley. We need to get our friend Darren on it. Created. There was a resignation of Reform councillor Kay Hughes only weeks after the May election, and that went back to Labour massively. Over
so
50%.
There's another one had to resign. There was the Reform councillor who did he call for Keir Starmer to be killed or something? I can't remember. He shit the bed in some way. Even Reform UK had to suspend him, but he basically just didn't turn up for 6 months, and now he's just automatically lost his seat. So there'll be another by-election, whatever that was.
Yeah, and I need to do another Reform watch with our friends Ollie and Jack and Ed, because here in Durham there's all kinds of shit going on. I think they've got their majority. They've cut their own majority down from, I think it was 16 to 6 in the last year. And the latest one to go was because he said that there were unacceptable things said, and then Andrew Husband, who's the leader of Durham City Council, County Council, he came out all guns blazing, saying that it was this councillor who had leaked the messages from their meetings, and good riddance, and I hate you. And I hate your children and your children's children or something. Yeah. And so Refuck just tearing chunks out of
Barnsley
each other.
really was a mad one. Like in Barnsley, like the Labour Council there were actually doing really good work. It's an incredible place. I mean, it used to be a proper shithole when I was young, and it's really been turned around.
Yeah.
As unbelievable that the population there would vote Reform UK. Really, even though I get how it's a naturally reformy type, but Barnsley was actually really doing very well. And you had a lot of modern stuff in there, like you could just go into the shopping centre and get yourself seen for some basic NHS checks and stuff like that. Just go to Boots and then go to. And they knew it as well. All of this stuff was really popular.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh yeah, sorry, Labour, we know you've done good stuff. You just got to vote for Farage. It's like, fucking idiots. There are things that get a town a bad reputation, like Hartlepool hanging that monkey. They're never going to get over that. Like, and just some towns, you just do something that's just so stupid. It's one thing, like if it's in your interest. Like when we talk about that, you talked about Thatcher earlier, but in reality, I don't think politics was that as toxic then, because the people who supported Thatcher tended to do well out of her, and the people who hated her, the ones she shoved over. She stuffed over the north of England and like similar communities, and they hated her for it. And then she enriched certain people in the southeast of England, and they loved her for it. It sort of made sense. Whereas now it doesn't. The people who Farage is most screwing over are the ones who supported him.
Yeah.
It doesn't make it make sense. If you're going to vote greedy, at least vote for something that gets you something.
Yeah. Another thing going on in Durham County Council, the chief executive here. So the council's run by an executive, right? And basically they're civil servants. They're there full time. They're paid full-time job. And then you have the council turning up and saying that what they want the.
Was this that failed businessman?
Possibly, I don't know, but the failed businessman Andrew Husband, whose last company went bump owing £1 million to the Saxman. Anyway, so the Durham County Chief Executive John Hewitt has said that he's never experienced such behaviour in more than 35 years. He's worked in local government over refuck councillors' unacceptable emails, which could pose a significant legal risk to local authorities. So this is people like Crafty Wang, who's our deputy leader, saying Hewitt didn't detail what exactly was said in the email, but he said they were involved in presenting personal views, allegations, and assumptions about council staff and other councillors as though they were facts.
Yeah.
What does that sound like to you, Phil? Sounds like
exactly.
we fucked everything. We've got to wrap up soon, but before we go, I just want to mention the Greens, because they're not really having a good time of it at the moment. And I think all the people who kind of got into Labour and kind of fucked Labour up a little bit 10 years ago, I think they've all moved to the Greens.
Yeah, I did warn the Greens to watch out for entries.
there was a quite there was a congratulatory email or message that went out from someone who had been elected to the Greens, and I think was it you that pointed out they didn't mention. Oh, it was
Wasn't
Ollie.
me,
Ollie pointed out that they didn't mention Green policy at all in this statement. It was all about Palestine.
Yeah, well, it wasn't even all about that. It was. There was quite a funny statement in it where they said pro free speech as long as you say what I want you to say, because it specifically they promised they literally promised to force local members to adopt a particular belief, and then said champion free speech. It's like, mate, full MAGA here. Never go full MAGA.
Sorry, I just got mixed. Sorry, Darren. I said Barnsley, didn't I? And you're in Bradford. I get them mixed up. It's the bees. It's the bees, not the bees. Sorry, mate. All right, we'll get Ollie on. We'll also get Darren on as well. Come on the show tonight, Darren, if you're still watching. We're going to do a Friday night social. We haven't done one properly for a while, so that'll be good. What are you doing tonight, Phil? Are you about for a Friday night social?
I'm throwing dice.
You're throwing dice. Okay, that's fair enough. Excellent. It's the only Green MP doing more for the Greens is Hannah Spencer.
She's quite active.
Yeah,
certainly.
yeah. Which is good because they need someone who's actually elected to Parliament to be their face, because at the moment it's all Zach Polanski, and he's not an MP.
The ones who were elected at the election, they're a little bit faceless, really. They're not really good at promotion.
Yeah, she seems to be pretty good at sort of the whole promotion thing.
Yeah,
but I think they're going to really struggle. I think that there was this particular time in British history where the Greens could do really well in Gorton and Denton, and I don't know if it's going to happen again. I mean, it might.
Well, who knows? There's loads of time to go. We don't really.
Andy Burnham has well and truly put his set up a stall on the, what's it called, pitched his tent on the lawn or something. But yeah, it's I don't know. I think it's going to be very, very interesting when they have the Green Party conference next month.
Yeah, well, that's the real test to see whether all of this is whether this is just free. Because I know Polanski is a bit worried about some of the motions someone were trying to bring forward. Yeah. He's created a bit of a monster. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. Yeah.
The problem is, and we talked about this before, is there is a huge difference between a pressure group and a political party.
Yeah.
And people treat political parties like pressure groups, which we shouldn't, but also the people in, joining as a member of a political party assume it's going to be a bit like a pressure group, and it's not.
Well, some of them, I mean, there was an active aim to take over the Conservative Party by UKIP types, and they succeeded in doing that. That's how they ended up with the Brexit referendum. Then there was an active move by entryists on completely the other side of politics, although who agreed with Brexit, to do the same with Labour, and that did a lot of damage to Labour. And now the same thing's happening in the Green Party, and it's very difficult to stop it because normally you don't ask too many questions of someone. Well, you might ask questions, but you don't do too many checks.
Here's a
join the party. It's not worth it. Yeah, exactly. It's not worth for the money. But at the same time, the where the Green Party have a problem is they don't have the infrastructure for a large party, but they've suddenly got a load of extra members now.
Yeah.
So because they were used to being a small group, everyone has their say, and they want everyone to have their say and be involved and stuff like that, which works for a small thing. But once you're a much larger organization, you have to sort of build in some layers of like management, if you like.
Yeah.
And they don't have that. And any moves to do that, they will be attacked as anti-democratic because by definition, it dilutes the voice of the ordinary members.
Yeah.
So they're in a bit, we'll see.
It's
not an enviable task to deal with this now.
Yeah. No. So who's saying that Zach may be the Greens Corbyn? I don't think he will be. I
don't think so. I think he's a lot more sensible. I just think
I agree.
I don't think he had a long-term strategy.
Yeah.
I think he identified Starmer was crashing and burning. He slipstreamed into a populist cause that someone else created. He didn't create it. He just slipstreamed into this whole wealth tax thing.
Yeah.
And where it's like you said about where did Starmer go wrong? What were a monster? because he's not interested in power. He just needs to grow the Greens. So what were they? Where was Starmer weak? Where could he hive off a load of votes? Anything to do with Gaza, anything to do with like wealth taxes, and he just slipstreamed into it. But there wasn't a long-term strategy. And now Andy Burnham's in, and now it's getting a bit out of control with the entryists, who are not, by the way, they don't give, as you mentioned, they don't give a shit about the environment. Which is the reason for being. It's literally
that's what. Someone said, "Well, bombing Gaza is not very green." I know, but like we are facing an existential threat right now, and we're not the ones bombing Gaza.
But the other thing is like Labour. At least Labour's entryists were not anti-workers' rights, because this is literally the same. So the Green Party's entryists. It's not just that they're going to lean into populism and that it's not going to allow it to be a serious party. They actively don't give a shit about the thing, the raison d'etre of the entire. Every party has a thing.
Yeah.
For Plaid, it's Welsh independence. For SNP, it's Scottish independence. For Labour, it's workers' rights. For the Conservatives, it's small business. It's like small government, that sort of thing. For the Lib Dems, it's social policy. For the Greens, it's supposed to be climate policy. And
at a time when we need it more than ever.
Yeah.
And this is the thing, I think they're letting people down, not just the people who support the Greens or members of the Greens. I think they're letting us all down, because they need to be screaming off from the rooftops right now that we are in a climate emergency and we need to do something about it. They need to be putting pressure on the government to do something about it. And,
exactly. That's what they should do. At the moment, the opposition party that's raising the temperature, so to speak, on climate issues is the Lib Dems. It's not the Green Party.
Yeah.
We've just had a summer of 5 heat waves. 5 heat waves, and the Green Party have lost. They've gone down in polls.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that, you should take always make an opportunity out of a crisis, or whatever the expression is. I do get that it's
in politics, you have to.
Yeah, but I mean, this is a time that we need a strong, unified voice in Parliament. There's only 5 of them. Having that voice in Parliament is important. I know Parliament's not in session at the moment.
Sorry, Frank's just making the point I just made earlier. Again, he's saying the problem is they have a rule that anybody can make a policy and it would be heard out. They need to curb that. But this is the problem, you see. An attempt to curb it will be attacked as anti-democratic, and there may now be, it may be a bit too late. They didn't put in the foundations before they started building the extra blocks on the tower block.
Yeah. Okay, Phil, thank you very much for coming on the show. Are you doing a show tomorrow? Are you doing your live show at 7 o'clock?
Yes, I should probably be doing something.
So please check that out at A Different Bias here on YouTube. And I'll be back at 9:30 tonight, hopefully with Darren, if Darren wants to come along, doing a Friday night social. So if you want me to join me for that, Mike Dix, I hope, will be involved. And others, I'll have to see if they get back to me or if I get to them. But in the meantime, I hope you have a really fantastic afternoon. I hope you have a good rest of the day. I hope wherever you are, you get a bit of rain. Not too much rain. We don't want to flash floods, but a little bit of rain is always welcome after this extraordinary summer of heat waves. 5 heat waves. We might get another 6th heat wave in September. Apparently.
Possible, hopefully not.
Might happen, which isn't great. But I'll say a big thank you to my wonderful co-host, Phil Moorhouse. And also say thank you to everyone who dropped in a super chat as well. Really appreciate that, which I think was One Angry Pagan. I think One Angry Pagan was carrying that. So thank you very much, mate. That's really kind of you. And until 9:30 tonight, I'll say thanks for watching. Hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.